and welcome everybody to the AV Exchange presented by Midwich. I am your host, Joe Dunbar. It is Thursday, May 8th. We're right around the corner from InfoComm, and I am going to grill these guys about it a little bit, but we've got DTEN in the house. We're not going to talk all InfoComm. I do got to press them a little bit, ask what's going to be on display, see if we can get some sneak peeks, but we've got Dave, Ben, and Scott in the house, and I'm going to bring them in just a minute. We appreciate everybody joining us. You know, the first thing we got to do, I'm going to give you a quick peek at the agenda here. I know we're going to be talking to the crew from DTEN. Obviously, we want to bring in your questions, but what we have planned right now, we're going to talk a little bit about design considerations, collaborative work for sure. We're going to talk about the Vue and Vue Pro cameras a little bit, and specifically get into some of the partnerships, alliances, and particularly certifications and the importance that those have in our world and bring in our industry. But before we get into that stuff, you know, I got to go through all the housekeeping items. If you've been with us before, I apologize for the repeat chat here, but we got to go through the talking points and the housekeeping items quick. Please use the Q&A for questions. This is probably the most important item. I will ask you to hang on here. When we get Q&A questions that go into the chat, I don't always catch them. I don't always see them. If you put them in the Q&A section, we can keep them nice and tidy. Use the chat for discussion. I'm up here in the land of 10,000 lakes. I love to know where people are coming from and where in the country or where in the world you're joining us, as we do get some international visitors. Also, if you have any experiences with DTEN, we love to hear about those there as well and keep that chat going. I'm going to launch a quick poll. We do an awareness poll. If you guys have done this with us before, you know it's just about knowing who we're talking to and keeping the language kind of on our level, right? So we don't want to talk over everybody. We don't want to talk under everybody. We want to keep it relevant. So if you can participate in that, there's 2 quick questions that just kind of let us know who our audience is. We appreciate that. And at the end of this, we do a gift card giveaway. So we pick somebody at random and reward them with a $50 Amazon gift card. Thanking you for the time. I will say, qualifying questions, relevant questions. I will drop your name into our random wheel picker here. An additional time for good questions, qualifying questions, relevant questions. If you're trying to cheat the system and just break one big question into a bunch of little questions or something like that, I'm going to call you out on it, and I'm not going to let you get that extra entry, but please do participate is the point there, and we will certainly do our best to reward you with that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the team in. If I can get it over to my switcher here. There we go. We've got Dave, Ben, and Scott, the team from DTEN. Appreciate you guys joining us. I'm going to ask you to, we'll just go around the horn. I'll ask each of you guys to give a quick introduction to yourselves, who you are, how you got to DTEN, and what you do there. Dave, if we can start with you.
Sure, hey, everybody. I'm affectionately known as D10 Dave, and I run channel sales for North America.
Love it. Where are you based out of, Dave?
Oh, I'm just outside of New York City.
Dave's in the Northeast. Dave and I go a ways back, so I'll try to not keep it inside baseball when talking about him, but a great resource to have. Dave, we appreciate you joining us. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm doing quite well, Joe. Thank you. And so I manage the Midwich account for D10. Is a distribution key and principal distribution partner. And so we appreciate the alliance.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for joining us today. Ben has helped our team out. I know it deals with Kathy on our management team a lot. So Ben, we appreciate your support and you being here with us today. And then we've got Scott. Scott, if you can give a little introduction and where you're calling in from today.
Yeah. Hey, Joe. Thank you. My name's Scott Krueckeberg. I'm in Long Beach, California. A little bit better weather than D10 Dave. Sorry, man. But I had our strategic alliances. So I'm kind of the quarterback for D10 with Zoom and Microsoft Teams and how we strategize and go to market together.
Awesome. I am definitely looking forward to kind of learning a little bit more about how you guys do that. We know it's super important. Certifications come up all the time, and I'm looking forward to diving into that stuff. But Ben, where are you from? I don't know if I caught that. I'm sorry.
Well, let's see. So several places coming out of upstate New York, and then now in the Reno, Nevada area, Bay Area, and then San Diego here soon near Scott. So I try to get all over the place.
Yeah, we got the gamut here from Dave in the Northeast, Scott's down in the Southwest. I was just that way, but I'm now in the middle of the country here in the land of 10,000 lakes. So let's dive into it, you guys. I know there's a bit we're going to jump into and take a look. Ben, I think you're going to kick us off.
Sure enough, Joe. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. And you mentioned InfoComm. You see a bunch of the awards up here on the opening slide. We want to talk a little bit about our portfolio. Mostly, we really want to get into some practical, room design aspects. And Dave is really good at presenting kind of what you need to know about the room, what really goes on in the room, and be able to design to that. And we really wanted to bring Scott in because these certification things from platform vendors can be confusing, and they come up, and people have to know how that fits into these designs. So, with that, I would turn it over to Dave to kind of get us rolling.
Right.
All right. Thanks, Bennett. So my section here, what do we know about room design and video needs? We've all been doing this for a long time. So we all think we know, but we really have to step back and say, have the rooms changed? Has the technology changed? Have the requirements changed? And I think in most cases, the answer is yes. So if we go to the next slide, we can start there and we can ask ourselves, why don't we know what's going on? Are we really paying attention to what happens? So what really happens in a meeting room, right? I mean, the obvious answer, Bennett, if you hit the button, the obvious thought we're all going to say is, well, we go have a meeting. But Bennett, if you hit the button, I'll guarantee that this has gone on in a meeting room before, and is probably going on in a meeting room somewhere else too. Let's face it, there are a lot of things that happen, right?
Definitely.
So Bennett, if you hit it one more time for us, right? People meet, but what goes on in a huddle room? Because now we have all these huddle rooms. So Bennett, hit the button for that one. Do people huddle? Really? No. As we move down the list and we start looking at the smaller rooms, and we have to remember that every room now has to be video enabled. So certainly as a dealer, I can be excited to know that there are some 82 million conference rooms that are not video enabled. So I can go help video enable them all. Or another way to look at it is every room where there used to just be a starfish on the table, now you need to have video on the table. But more importantly, before we just dive into video, if we look at this, Bennett, go ahead and hit the button. If we look at these small huddle rooms, what really happens in those rooms is more than just having a meeting. There's a lot of collaboration and there's a lot of ideation. So when a bunch of people are looking at each other going, whoa, we got a problem. Let's go grab a room and try and solve it. That's different than saying, let's go have a meeting to discuss what our sales strategy is or whatever. So when we get into collaboration and ideation, what happens when somebody's remote? How do they contribute to the program? So Bennett, hit the button. We'll get to my next slide over here, right? Sure. Plenty of people have done it. This is what we always did in the past. We take a camera, we aim it at the whiteboard, and we say, okay, now everybody can see the whiteboard, even if you're remote. But the remote people can't contribute. And if I really want collaboration and ideation, I need everybody to be able to communicate and collaborate all at the same time. Now, the good news, and of course, what happens when it's over, but the good news about this is in the last several years, both Microsoft with their Teams Room solution and Zoom with their Zoom Rooms have made major strides in the whiteboarding tools. And it's not about the tools that are in our hardware or anybody else's hardware. It's about being able to save that content back into your environment. So when you are in Teams, your whiteboarding sessions actually are stored in the Teams group. So everybody in the group can continue working on them even when they're back at their desk. In the Zoom environment, in a similar way, there's a whiteboards tab, and you can go find those whiteboards and put them in there. The days of emailing somebody a PDF of the whiteboard and they never look at it again are gone. Now it actually becomes a powerful tool. And because it's such a powerful tool within the software environment, we need to be thinking hardware-wise how to support that software solution. Right? So that's the real driving force that gets us to, hey, we've got to do this electronically. And then, of course, if you hit the slide one more time, there's one other piece. And that is there is a security problem. we all know what happens here. You draw a bunch of stuff on the whiteboard, then somebody writes do not erase, and it stays there forever, even though the person who wrote do not erase doesn't need it anymore. And then, of course, the other thing is everybody pulls out their phone and takes a picture of the whiteboard so they can remember it. And, at some point, is that their personal phone? Is that their work phone? And if it's their personal phone, isn't it your intellectual property as the organization that person is taking somewhere else? So the concept of moving to electronic whiteboarding adds an additional level of security to everything, because now all that content is saved within your environment already and doesn't have to go outside of the space.
Dave, sorry to interrupt. I just love listening to you talk about this for a second, because this sounds like this is something you've had these experiences before. And I personally know there's not a meeting I'm in where somebody's not going, oh, on the far end even, hey, can you put that slide back up so we can screenshot it or something like that? So it's like this is a very personal matter and something I've experienced quite a bit. I'm intrigued and interested to see how the electronic whiteboarding can kind of add to this layer of security. Yeah, when electronic whiteboarding was first created, it was almost created for the school system. That's what everybody was thinking of, was let's replace the chalkboard, right? So that's kind of the software that was built, the pieces that were out there. Now our major conferencing tools have identified that whiteboarding brings this level of ideation and collaboration to the environment that definitely enhances the productivity of everybody in the space. And now that they've done that and made it available, that's the time to say, oh, we got to consider this. And I'm not saying we need whiteboards in 100-person conference rooms and things. But certainly as we get into those smaller rooms, as we get to 10 people and under, that's where people are going to go and try and do these kind of things. We should give them the tools to be the most productive. Bennett, hit the slide. See what we got next. Well, guess what we've got? DTEN's got a whole bunch of boards. All our video boards, 55s, 75s, etc., are all touch enabled. So you can annotate, collaborate, and ideate. You can put them on a cart and roll them into the room in Zoom's environment. You can even have multiple whiteboards in a single room in different places if you so desire. Okay, Bennett, hit it one more time. All right, now we come to our next challenge for the room. And this is something we've been doing wrong for a long, long time. But it really started with when we came back from the pandemic. There's this camera shot of the room, and the remote participants started complaining, I can't see everybody's face, because you get this one wide shot of the room. Or for the last 30 years, we've been running around trying to build speaker tracking cameras. And we've been buying 9 different cameras, putting them all in a room. And whoever we see speaking, we switch to that camera, right? And maybe that's not the best motion for what we're trying to do. Go ahead, Bennett, and hit the slide there. Because the problem here is more than half the conversation, 55% of the conversation is nonverbal. So if I have a speaker tracking camera and it's zoomed in on the person that's speaking, and the person that's speaking is giving us a concept or an idea that they want to do, and the boss is sitting across the table with his head in his hands, not saying a word, and you're a remote participant and you can't see the boss because I had a switching camera that switched this and tracked the speaker, I'm totally out of the conversation. I have no idea what's going on, right? Somebody's over there going like this. We don't know. So now, and this is so important. Again, we make the hardware, others make the software. This has been identified by everybody. So now both Microsoft within their Teams Rooms environment and Zoom allow us to have every person seen all the time. So this is not just a, DTEN made it up thing. This is something that these large software manufacturers have identified as a problem, basically telling us AV people we've been building rooms wrong for the last 25 years. And now we need to have everybody in the space. So Bennett, hit the slide. And you can see it's a little different.
Zoom uses what they call multi-focus framing or multi-streaming. Microsoft uses composite mode. But indeed, the results are the same. We electronically at DTEN look for people's heads and shoulders. We cut them out and we put everybody into their own box. So everybody in the conference room can be seen up front and clear. Now, even with this creates another issue. On my 55-inch screens, my camera has a 120-degree field of view. On my 75s, it's a 95-degree field of view. And sure, it's a great 4K camera, but when I go 20, 30 feet away and I find somebody's head and shoulders and I cut them out, there are not a lot of pixels there for me to pick up. So this is where DTEN partners with both Zoom and Microsoft. And we said, hey, we're going to build a solution for that. So Bennett hit the old button there. And what we did was we built what we call Vue and Vue Pro cameras. They're either one camera on each side or two cameras on each side. For the DTEN boards, they simply clip on and they're ready to go. For the DTEN bar, they come with a 6-foot cable. And you run them over to the bar and plug them in via USB-C, and you kind of industrial strength tape to the side of whatever screen you're using. And what these cameras do is they do shoot crossways, but the other thing that they do is the first camera will cover everything from 1 to 5 meters. So if your room's 15, 16 feet deep, you use Vue cameras. If your room's deeper than that, you use Vue Pro cameras, because the second camera will go 5 meters and beyond is the idea. So now I've got optically better positioned cameras looking at less of the space so that when I find people and cut them out, I get much better resolution. And indeed, if we hit the button one more time, we'll get all the way to this slide where you can see that with a Vue Pro camera at 20 feet away, I get 6 times the resolution as if I just use that center camera to do the same thing. Some of the other cool features, and DTEN's very pressed on this, but we're trying to keep everything on the wall. We don't want to have things drilled through the floor, ceiling, etc. So that's why the cameras clip right to the side or right to the screen appropriately, and we can cover the entire room from one end to the other. We don't have to put like 3 towers in the middle of the table all the way down. We don't want to create that encumbersome thing. And then of course I've seen it a million times where then somebody comes in, they see the camera sitting there, even if they're not having a video meeting, they put their hat on it, they cover it with a scarf, they get all kinds of paranoid because there are these cameras that are just sitting in the middle of the table. Right? So lots of good advantages. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for everybody. Keep it all on one wall so it's easy to install, easy to maintain, not a lot of wires running anywhere, and you get much better coverage than you would by putting something in the center of the table or hanging it off.
Hey, Dave, can we, I just want to grab onto something you started to touch on here. The features that are required from a software standpoint and then hardware to go ahead and implement those things, right? If you want to talk about multi-focus or pick a feature that your hardware needs to support. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that? Is it something where, the software provider, call it Teams or Zoom, whatever it might be, right, says, hey, this is a feature we want to introduce. Here are the hardware requirements. Or do you get to go out and say, okay, we get to decide what hardware we want to use that's going to go ahead and enable these types of features? Or what does that process look like? Is it collaborative, or is it more of a receiving an edict and you got to go out and make it happen?
So the answer is both, and it's different for each manufacturer as well.
Of course it is.
Right. So Zoom, for example, created the multi-stream concept first, right? And they do multiple streams, but they started multi-focus and then turned it into multi-stream. And when we realized what they were trying to do with multi-focus, that's when we identified, hey, we should make cameras that support this software feature, right? To enhance it and make it better, because that's our job, is to build hardware that supports the software. Once we did that, we go to the Microsoft side, and Microsoft says, nope, we're only allowed to have 2 cameras in the room, 1 camera that shoots the participants and 1 camera that can shoot the whiteboard. And that's it. You're not allowed to do anything else. And we show up and say, hey, look at these Vue Pro cameras. Look how they work within the Zoom environment. And Microsoft, maybe we should do that too. So we had already built the hardware when they implemented their version of it appropriately. And obviously our hardware was then certified to go.
Got it. So that's kind of the motion that those pieces went through, but every piece goes through a different motion. And the other thing is, if I'll take Microsoft, for example, if Microsoft decides that they're going to add a new feature that is also going to need hardware to support it, they will go to at least 3 hardware manufacturers and basically strong arm them into making something. Got it.
There. Right? That's kind of their motion, is they want to have multiple hardware vendors for every type of feature there is.
That's where,
right? In our case, we're doing Vue Pro cameras. Somebody else is doing what is it called? A site. Somebody else is doing a center thing, whatever that's called, right? Everybody's got their own little style for it. Obviously, because it's featured, then others will come in and build as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I asked specifically because kind of in this category, you know, all of the hardware solutions available aren't necessarily apples to apples. They're not identical parts and pieces, right? Especially you're taking a totally different approach to it. So I appreciate you answering the question. I'm sure, Scott, I don't want to steal any of your thunder. I know those conversations are very much probably more in your wheelhouse in terms of the discussions and those types of things. I'm just thinking from a hardware perspective, when that's told you, kind of the approach that you guys go with. But I love to see the I don't want to call it an alternative approach, because this was a product that kind of came earlier, if not right around the same time as some of the other manufacturers have come out with other products. And the different approach, keeping things at the kind of head end, at the display end, I certainly appreciate the pros of doing something like that. There's less cables to runs and those types of things. And when you have problems, troubleshooting is not nearly as complex because everything's right there. So something I hadn't really considered before, but now that we get into the conversation about it, it's like, oh, that's a feature, you know?
Yep. And there's a good topic to kind of swing around to at least some of the little things you want to talk about InfoComm, and I can't even guarantee that this is going to be an InfoComm subject. But last, I'll say October, November timeframe, Scott can give us the exact date if we really care. Microsoft did roll out plans for people to be able to build all-in-one solutions running Windows IoT as the operating system. They hadn't authorized that before. The only one that did it was a Surface Hub, right? So they rolled it out to everybody. Here's the plan. They simultaneously rolled out a second version that is a much more powerful compute with some additional other processors, et cetera. And they said, here's what you got to do if you want to build a board that will be Copilot ready. And at the time, they didn't even know all the features, and they still don't have all the features for Copilot. But DTEN is going to be the first one that builds a Windows IoT all-in-one solutions, 55s and 75s, that will be Microsoft Teams certified and Copilot ready. So we went straight to the big gun. We're going hard on it as fast as we can. And as soon as we have it out, you'll be able to see it. We're all crossing our fingers that maybe there'll be one that magically appears at InfoComm, but no guarantees there. So don't come screaming at me if it's not there.
I love it, man.
We are working on it. It's an active project. And for those people that are diehard Windows and want Copilot, and believe me, I'm sure there'll be enough features that everybody will want Copilot there. It's going to be a great board.
I love it. I appreciate that, Dave.
Sure. All right, Bennett, if you hit the slide, I think that means it is now Scott's turn to say some words.
Hey, Scott, take it away.
All right, thank you. Nice work, Dave. You did tee up, like Joe mentioned, a couple crossover points on, certification, how, OEMs can work with the platform providers to innovate features. It is kind of a give and take relationship where it could start with innovation on the hardware side, where customers are demanding different room designs, right? There's all sorts of points of origination around where these new feature sets come from. But, normally for the certification process, it does kind of start with what you mentioned, Joe, which is product requirements. Here are the minimum, pieces of a hardware design that we feel like will provide the performance and the user experience, that they're after. So let's start there, Ben. And both of these platforms, like Dave mentioned, they're different. There are some similarities, but they are a different approach. So, as most people know, we started our big venture into an all-in-one collab board with Zoom. That started in 2017, and we really were tied at the hip as far as engineering and our roadmap to bring those Zoom Room features to market. They had a lot of great ideas in the beginning around wireless content sharing and things that weren't really familiar in a room. And the OEMs had to step up their designs to kind of meet the need of that vision of what a conference room could be. So, very high velocity feature development, always being prepared from a hardware level to push out those new features in those room designs. And then also bringing a new attack of simplicity and value, where our boards are modular and they connect to Wi-Fi and there's not a lot of wires in the room. So those things were new to, those design elements. And DTEN has been there to support that feature release for quite some time now. On the team side, we joined forces in 2022. So we've really had 2 strong years of going to market as a Teams device. So, in the same vein of helping platforms, push innovation, we are building new hardware designs based on Intel Ultra PCs and things that are going to give our customers a roadmap on AI agents, facilitators, all these features that you'll see coming into meeting rooms over the next couple of years. Our devices are already built from a product requirement standpoint to support those day one. So very similar relationships on both sides. And that'll put us into our next topic here, Ben. Yep. Which is why these certifications are important. So we really do complete end-to-end testing during this certification process. So, that product requirement document you receive will tell you, the basic OS levels, things around the RAM and the GPU and things that they feel are going to be required. But it also attacks those audio and video elements, the user experience, right, from the interaction level, device management, which a lot of people don't think of, but being able to manage those devices remotely in a portal consistently is also a big part of that. And then security, which I think is top of mind for everyone. So, being able to have digital whiteboards, content sharing, right, which is in a lockdown environment and secure, that's part of that rigorous testing that we do. And then it all ends with one big end-to-end, stress test where we turn on 100 videos and everyone's sharing content. We do a lot of things where we really maximize what could potentially happen in that meeting, check all the boxes, do all the troubleshooting in advance, and then you're kind of done with a complete package. And that's what that certification requirement involves. So a lot of work, a lot of time, working with labs, fine tuning, fixing bugs. So it's not really a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process that we do from end to end to make sure that all of those check boxes are done and complete before we go to market and start to deploy these solutions to our customers.
Hey, Scott, that actually is a great kind of point. I had made a note kind of here to ask you guys. I'm curious, like that process, is it you made it sound like it's pretty collaborative. Is it a very back and forth thing? Are the platforms dictating any kind of standards or any kind of functionality that you need to meet in order to be certified? Obviously, like that is part of the puzzle, but if they're adding new features and they're growing, and software can move faster than hardware, right? That's just so much easier to modify and update. So what does that back and forth look like for you guys as a manufacturing partner with the platform and software providers?
Yeah, you kind of kick off a certification process. You'll have the engineering and the product and people like me all in a biweekly meeting where we're going through those test items, and you'll have a working relationship throughout that process. So at some point, you're going to do things like send devices to a lab, get those test reports, review them together, use customer testing, right? Microsoft has TAP, where we deliver devices to end users and have them check the same testing protocols that we would in the lab, right? So it's kind of check, double check, fix a lot of bugs. You can tune your camera, tune your audio, right? There's a lot of things that you can do together. And that process doesn't necessarily have a defined beginning to end date. It's about 6 weeks minimum worth of work that could stretch on to months, to really fine tune everything before it's released.
Cool. I know when the certification and collaboration with Microsoft Teams rooms came for D10, that was a huge thing in our world for sure, because a lot of D10 fans out there we're kind of, I don't want to say making the change, but mixing in more Microsoft Teams rooms with their Zoom.
You'd be surprised how much of a mix there is out there at the customer level of balancing teams in some locations and Zoom rooms in other locations. And, it's not really, I don't think, defined in the marketplace on it's kind of case by case and how you like to manage your rooms, how you like to manage your devices, and what other products I think you're interested in. Is it more of a collaborative heavy environment? Is it workplace management tools? I think each platform provides a different angle so the customer can choose what's best.
I'm just so glad that you said it like that. I see this all the time, and I hear this. My organization here at Midwich, we use both tools here and there, and some people from their past experiences, myself included, have their own kind of anecdotal experiences with each of these platforms and might prefer one over another. But I'm glad to hear that there are considerations on the development side for when one of them might be right versus the other one, and it's not just so much a clear cut case of this one is better because of X, right?
Yeah, it's really around, what that use case is, what that solution is that you're trying to deploy, and not necessarily hinging on the actual device, but, the entire solution that you're trying to create, and that's one thing we do is try and check off all of those boxes from a personal device to small, medium, large spaces, and give customers, that option of scaling or, being flexible and how they want to use their devices.
I love it, man. We have some questions rolling in. A couple I have tagged. We're gonna get to them, I promise. But I want to let you guys keep going right now, and then we can get to these. I'll slide them in where they make some sense. Perhaps we'll get them to them at the end.
Yeah, perfect. So moving on, Bennett, here we've got kind of what the state of collaboration, certification is. What's the goal? What are we trying to check off the list? And really those main goals, I feel are 4 points, right? Seamless integration. You want the software stack and the hardware level to be seamless and integrated. So, having your cameras and microphones whitelisted and having these testing procedures, right, really leads to seamless integration. The next is high performance. So you want, the hardware built to be able to deploy those advanced features. And, like you mentioned, the features are ramping up constantly, right? And someone's always raising the bar on what those features are in the room. And then we, as hardware manufacturers, are building next generation devices, pushing the envelope of our innovation to kind of help deliver that experience. So they need to be high performance. There's a lot of video rendering. There's a lot of GPU involved these days. There's a lot of stuff where you need the horsepower to push out a premium experience in a meeting room. So that's super important. Top of mind all the time is security. And then that support. A lot of people don't think about support when they think about certification, but if you want to call for help, your device is going to need to be certified. It's going to have to be a whitelisted device. If you want support from the platform side, they need to be able to identify that device. And we work just as closely on the support side as we do engineering. We share those resources. We fix customer problems, right? We review tickets together. We create hot fixes all the time to fix bugs that might have leaked out into the field. So that's just as important as post sales and having that integration, be seamless, so we can approach customers and fix those issues right in real time. So that's something you'll see between DTEN, Microsoft, and Zoom. All of us, being there to support the customer and their experience.
Scott, this seems like a good spot for one of the questions we have from Andrew. Andrew had asked, what about third-party partnerships and integration? So I think stepping away a little bit from the platform certifications and, is DTEN working on, what do you have for third-party hardware partnerships?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have a slide saved for that. But just to kind of briefly, mention it now, they do work differently. So, we are unique to have a Windows-based all-in-one board. And when you're in that Windows environment, I/O is a lot easier to do, right? Windows is a more open platform. So we play nice, really nice with other vendors and from audio to video to even collaboration tools on the Windows side. And then recently in the last 6 months, we've worked with top audio partners to whitelist their devices on our Android platform as well. So we have been making a lot of strides to make these devices flexible, and we'll kind of talk about in a few what those look like.
Awesome. Can't wait.
But on timeline, I think you mentioned before, things move so fast that certification is a 2-year guarantee, right? And where we're used to really long-term, no innovation, no changes, that's something completely different now, and how dynamic and how fast things are improving and those feature sets are being released. So what a kind of a canned certification looks like right now on both sides is 2 years of certification, 2 years of support. So you get a 4-year environment, but we are required to come back and recertify these devices every 2 years to keep them current. So at that point, you can either keep it in the market as certified, you can refresh your hardware into next generation, but we do offer customers, right, either of those options. We support the devices they own, or we assist them in hardware refresh when they feel they want to take advantage of those next level features.
Awesome.
And then lastly, what you get, as upside in this entire environment are those advanced features. So there's things that are rolled out only in a native room. So, you need the Zoom Rooms application on a certified device. You need the MTR on a certified device to roll out these native features. So things like one-touch join, where you can just walk up to the screen, tap the calendar, and your meeting opens. That's something that's involved in a certification level. Proximity join, so using the ultrasound to connect your personal device to that and still be secure, sharing content back and forth. Things like the views that David brought up. If you are using your laptop or a non-certified device or a meeting client instead of a native room, you're just going to get a webcam, right? So things you can do in a certification environment is take all 5 of our cameras, offload them to the DTEN device. Our AI is actually the one that is finding the best view and dropping bad resolution frames, right? And finding the cameras that bring people in their best resolution. So that's something that's offloaded to DTEN. Our devices are doing that. We're sending that production back to Microsoft, and they're displaying it in MTR. But it's important to have the horsepower and the right device to be able to create that experience. So we do that, in both environments. And then also kind of the thing I think is growing really quickly now are these little sidecars of features that you get in those meeting room environments. So running kiosk modes and having workplace reservations, having check-in kiosks, all these workplace tools. That's what we see as a huge growing part of our business. And those are involved in the certification process as well, is turning those devices into workplace tools. So a lot of upside and enhanced features come along with that process.
I suppose if we've ever wondered why certification can take X amount of time, there you go. Those are a lot of things to consider, a lot of moving parts.
100%. And then, yeah, that kind of branches off into what are we doing to create, a technical partner ecosystem. So, we can take a look at some of the people we're currently working with to elevate their experience or bring other tools that they're subscribing to or using into that DTEN environment. So, different application layers like Miro. If you want to bring a more advanced whiteboard stack collaboration tool, you can do that on DTEN devices. Working with AppsFace on workplace tools and office kiosks and wayfinding, you'll see that at InfoComm. We have opened our Android system to whitelist some pretty important partners in the audio industry. Sure, your P300 can now be plugged right in, and we have mute sync and everything to run additional ceiling mics or table mics. You can do that with DTEN devices. QSys on the Windows side, Biamp, and then a really cool relationship with PEXIP, where if you want to take your direct guest join to the next level, you can do that by creating a SIP bridge, joining a Microsoft Teams call through Zoom, and sharing your whiteboards, sharing your screen, running dual displays. There's so many things that PEXIP Connect brings as an extra layer to elevate that experience that you're not going to find in traditional direct guest join. So we'll have some of this stuff on display at InfoComm. We'll be talking about this partner ecosystem throughout the show, and that's a big part of my thing is to create that best ecosystem for our customer, and it's really driven by them, right? They raise their hand and say it would be great to use these two things together. I've invested in this hardware already. Can we make it all work together in a new design? And that's really where this comes from is that customer demand and what they're using.
Being on our end of the equation here, I know I certainly appreciate those integrations and collaborations. To your point, it's really about bringing the best possible solutions to the integrators and the end users so that everything can work as good as it possibly can. I know that manufacturers may want to say, well, use all of our stuff, but I think it takes a bold and competent manufacturer to say, look, we have a great solution set with all these features and bells and whistles, but when it comes to X, and in this case, maybe we're talking about direct guest join features or third-party audio and advanced audio functionality, by going, hey, this is not something that we have done in the past before and not necessarily something we're looking to get into, maybe not. But right now we're going to develop these partnerships with other people who have done this and do this quite well and see how we can work together. And I know certainly you've got a couple brands up there that we work with, Shure, and we recently launched QSys, which are two huge players in the audio game, along with a couple others. So that functionality helps really deliver a solution that, a D7X does a great job in a lot of situations, but in some rooms, some more advanced audio might be needed, but you want the view cameras and all the other things, then you can do that.
And it kind of works both ways as well, right? There's Shure customers who might have rolled out video bars only, and they thought AV first, and now they're coming back saying we don't have adequate collaboration tools. They can roll D10 boards in that room on a cart. We play nice with the whole system, and now you've even upgraded your tech stack in existing rooms to annotate over content and share whiteboarding and turn those into collaboration spaces. So it really is an equal partnership on checking off those boxes of customer needs.
I never thought we'd see so many companies playing so nicely together. You know, if you would have asked me 15 years ago, kind of if this space would look like this, and certainly as a distributor, and I know our integration customers feel similarly. I love it every day. It's great when everybody talks to everybody and things can play nice together. It's a real game changer.
So, I think that's where strategic alliances come from, right? If it wasn't strategic about how do we fill the gaps in each other's customer requirements, and I think that's really what we're trying to do together is, complete a solution that the customer wants to deploy, elevate the experience, and it can work, favorably for both sides to fill the gaps and what the other can bring to the table.
Definitely.
And I got to say is, for as much as Pixup in particular really elevates the overall experience for those people using Zoom that want to join a Teams environment from time to time, we got into it because we had a couple of customers that were good, solid DTEN customers. They'd been buying Zoom room boards for a long time, and their company made a decision that they're going to move everybody to Teams, and they just can't rip out 200 rooms all at once and put in the hardware that supports Teams now. But we can add Pixup Connect so that from that Zoom room, they can still get into Teams meetings. They can still share their content, do their whiteboarding, everything they need to do for at least, the next year or so as they make the transition and decide, okay, now it's time. These rooms should get the latest hardware. Or maybe I got one group they're going to run it for a year and a half with Pixup. And then they're going to come back and get all the Copilot boards.
Timing.
So they're going to wait until we have a new Copilot machine, and then they'll come in and say, okay, now we'll not just change them from Zoom to Teams, but we're going to change them to the best Teams experience.
That makes perfect sense. And really, it does open up that possibility to be able to say, I don't want to refer to Pixup Connect as a Band-Aid, right? Because it's not. But in this situation, you're talking about it as part of the process and the transition and not something that has to have a hard stop and a hard end and a gap in the middle, right? So that's a great bridge solution.
Right. We take a look at what the customer's goals are and what is the solution what's the best solution to get them to their end goal. And yes, Pixup Connect ends up being I don't want to call it a Band-Aid, but a plug-in for a period of time until.
Yeah, a great transition and bridge piece. Guys, we've got a little over 10 minutes here left. I do have a couple questions stacking up. I know we've got probably two or three more slides to get at in the deck, and I think these questions
we can make those painless. Let's bring this one up. Even if you want to have a question over the top, right? We can throw this up and kind of show what our current portfolio looks like by solution, right? So.
A great spot for that. Yeah.
Not really driving device to device to device, but what have we put together to provide what we call a DTEN experience, right? Which is full hardware, software, all working together to make your life simple and painless, but be really high performing. So we've got the personal device stuff, right? The 27-inch where you can put phone booths, focus rooms. We're working on next generation kiosks to bring all those workplace tools, check-in, visitor management, all those things will be a big part of the second half of our year. And then having not just small, but medium room certification on both sides for everything we've talked about today. From board to bar, from Vue to Vue Pro, all of this stuff is certified today for a medium room. And then we're bringing those partners to the table where you can add a P300, expand your audio into a large space or run to visible spaces or use QSys on our Windows machine. So we're thinking about every solution set, all the use cases. It's not, necessarily product for us. It's full end-to-end 360. What is that customer experience? What tools can we add to increase it, enhance it? And then also, with our Orbit service, it's all remotely manageable. And you see all your devices globally on one pane of glass, and it makes it super easy for our customers to deploy, support, and continue to maintain all of their devices.
I know a lot of the customer systems integration partners that we have on our end that have used DTEN in the past, them and their end user partners are very, I don't want to say loyal to DTEN because that, you know, it makes it sound a certain way. It ends up being the right solution. And to get them to pull away onto something else, it's not that they're, you know, not open to other solutions, but it becomes the best solution each time and a reason they keep coming back to it. It's not that DTEN is trying to build every piece and every part in the system to your DTEN is
and you know,
well.
Not just that initial experience, but it is the post-sales experience, I think, is what wins a lot of customers for us. So highly engaged support teams, right? We're one chat away for our customers. And then we've built the self-service tools in Orbit that really allow you to get ahead of situations, get help quickly, manage those devices. So, I think it's 50% upfront. It's compelling technology. You get touch, you get access to all these really cool features. But then the second half is the customer experience after they purchase. And those 2 years of working with us as a vendor, allows them to feel super comfortable. Hardware refreshing into more D10, scaling up in multiple locations, and that's what we see more often is once they're a D10 customer, they grow, right? And continue to do that.
Yeah, we've seen that. Here's I got a question here from Chris, and this might be not an easy answer, maybe not, but we're going to dive into it. Chris wants to know, are all of your products Microsoft and Zoom certified?
So currently our entire Android line is both Microsoft and Zoom certified. Our current generation Windows devices are all Zoom certified. And then in summer, we're releasing our MTRW all-in-one D10 AI board.
Awesome. You did quite well answering that. I thought it might be a little trickier. We have another question. This ties in from Christopher, not Chris. Christopher asks, any support for Google on the roadmap?
It is something that we're taking a look at. Currently, you can do that through PaxUp Connect, starting from a Zoom room, joining Google Meet environments. Now that Google Meet supports Android devices, that is something that we're taking a look at. And like most of our resources, they're customer driven. So if there is a D10 customer or many of them that require that environment, that integration, that's something we'll definitely pursue.
Awesome. That's exciting. I've got one more question here. I just want to take a look quick and make sure. It looks like another one. Oh, Chris wanted to know if any larger displays are in the works. That's a good question, Chris.
I mean, if you think about our philosophy, it's people plus content, right? We feel like if you are only in a meeting without seeing the content or the whiteboard, you're at a disadvantage. We feel like if you're only seeing the whiteboard and not the participants, you're at a disadvantage. So something like you see in the bottom right corner is our D7X Dual. So instead of making one giant screen that puts you in the same situation, we have two 75-inch screens with our bar vertically in the middle for eye-level view, and that's going to give you people on one side, content on the other side. So it keeps people even more engaged and productive than one really large screen, because you're not giving away real estate to one or the other. You get that mixed experience. People plus collaboration, we feel like, creates the ultimate meeting experience.
I feel like Chris almost set you guys up for that one.
Thanks, Chris. You're my boy, Chris.
Let's not forget that the D10 bar supports dual screen and can be mounted vertically to give you that eye level shot. So you could build dual 55s, you could build dual 42s in an executive office, for example. You could build it with dual 86s, so you can use any size.
I love that. Guys, I have one more question in the queue here, and it looks like that's going to be the end of our questions. Kat wants to know. Oh, this is a tough question, too. I guess I'll qualify by reminding everybody that both of the platforms in question today do have wireless sharing built into them. So please do not forget about that. But I do want to address Kat's question. Any plans for a hardware wireless sharing device for the D10 solutions? So imagine more like a wireless peripheral that you could plug into a device to get content sharing in.
We have some creative things that are on the roadmap. You won't see
Got
them
it.
in InfoComm.
Good to know. Super secret is what I hear. I love it. I appreciate it, guys.
Maybe a little different than what you're thinking of, but I think it'll be exactly what the
But
customer.
keep in mind on the Windows side, we do have devices that basically are driven by Windows PCs, and the I/O with different tools like that are already in the market is something you could potentially experiment with. But we will kind of have our DTEN defined kind of BYOD content sharing experience in the very near future.
I can't wait to see that. I can't wait. Well, guys, we got about 3 minutes left here. I want to go ahead and get us wrapped up, and we're going to do our gift card giveaway for everyone who stuck around. I appreciate it. I thank you guys for the time and the information. I'm excited to visit you all at InfoComm. I'm hoping I will see you there. Any last remarks before we part ways? A booth number where I'll be able to find you guys just fine.
I will say it's going to be booth number 3067, but my dyslexia might actually say it's 3076.
That's all good, Dave. I don't know if anyone else does, but I'm a big user of the application, the mobile app for InfoComm to use the map and get around. So, folks, please do be sure to stop by and visit the Midwich booth, the DTEN booth, and a bunch of the other great ones. If you're going to be at the InfoComm show, come say hi. We'd love to hear from you and chat with you a little bit. Dave, Scott, Ben, thank you guys so much for joining us this afternoon and giving us all this great information. And with our last little minute here, I still haven't gotten a drum roll sound effect built in, but I am going to go ahead and do the gift card giveaway and the raffle. And that is going to be Patricia Mendez. We will reach out to you afterwards to go ahead and facilitate that delivery. But thanks again, everybody, for joining us here on the AV Exchange presented by Midwich. Please hit our website and join us next week. And we're looking forward to seeing you guys there. Thanks so much.